Hey people, Shaman Hawk here for Shamanic Lodge. Oh, more questions come in. I think I'm gonna end up doing series of videos for people getting into shamanism. Since so many people are flowing towards it these days. One of the questions that came up was, what's one of the things that are like the most difficult for people to deal with when they get into the shamanic path? And actually, for all these videos, I'm just going to go ahead and assume people want to do the shamanic apprenticeship and end up becoming the shaman that's making it a career, because that's the one path that people have that's actually the most difficult. A lot of times people will come into shamanism to make life changes. They say they want to be apprentices, they want to take in all the studies, they want to be the student, but then after they've gotten their life in order and they really start to realize what their passion is, what they feel their life purpose is, they'll go away from the apprenticeship just to be a regular person, as everybody likes to say, and then um, just live their life. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm happy I can help people do that. The shamanic life, as much as I love it, I think sometimes too I love it because I got conditioned into it. I started very, very young. And I was 20 years old when I really started living the life. And I'm 64 now. So sometimes I think that's too long, but here I am still doing it. So when people get into it, there's this shamanic awakening that people like to call it. By the way, you're going to be hearing the birds a lot, the ducks and the chickens. This is their time to chatter with the neighborhood. So when people get into it, something happens in their life. It's that shamanic awakening. They say their world got all shook up. There's lots of these synchronicities that happened, and that's why they decide to get into it. And so, for all the reasons, basically, they start off in the same system. Something in life changed, something pulled them towards the shamanic path, and then they contact me. Downside of this sometimes is they contact me after they've been through a series of the New Age shamans, and unfortunately, I have to spend a lot of time deprogramming or even healing some of the damage that was done with people who were the 90-day wonders. They went through a 90-day course or something, and poof, they were a shaman and started wrecking people's lives. After I clean that up, then I can start with the work that goes along with helping the person become a shaman or starting the shamanic path. And I have a couple exercises, and I've talked about them on other videos. And once they do that, I can get a real view of who they are and where they should be focusing first. All that aside, the difficulty comes when they start to really grow outside of their normal life, meaning that they were person A, and as they started expanding their consciousness, as they started deprogramming and deleting and throwing out old mental apps, perceptions, and really extended their consciousness to become more empathic, more psychic, more intuitive, it starts to affect their everyday world. One, they're going to see things differently. They say that they feel separated from humanity. Well, when I hear comments like that, the other thing I know is they're going to feel separated more from their relationship, from their significant other, often their children, their job. And I caution people, don't make any big changes just yet, because some people will come to me and like, wow, I didn't realize that I shouldn't be married to this person. I shouldn't have had children. I shouldn't be in this career. And I'm like, oh, hold on a second. Hold on a second. Let this settle in. All right. Because they're escaping that one consciousness that they've been living up until the point where they started their shamanic path. So the first thing they think of is, if I'm going to do all this good work, if I'm going to follow these visions, I have to just change my life. Yeah, but that doesn't mean you have to gather up everything in your life and just delete it. It doesn't mean that you have to just run out on everything and just put a backpack on and go out and live shamanism. No. And I tell people, if you're going to make a comparison of the life changes that happen within the shamanic path and how to keep your sanity, I tell people to look at it like a theater company. You know, you're this one person, you went through acting school or whatever, you find out you're really good at it, and you want to just like go out and try all the parts to be the best, most well rounded actor that you could be. And that's why we have these. I mean, I have some favorites, you know, in the theater realm that they can play any part and they're going to be great at it. Well, that's shamanism. You have to go out and you have to be who you need to be for the people who will see you, hear you, learn with you, be healed by you, be influenced by you, because you have to also really work on yourself to be that living example. And so when people see you playing that part in that setting, you know, you can be the most important person in their life for that time and the most important influential event that makes or helps them go through these life changes, that they become this person who can also be a living example for people, whether they're in the shamanic field or not. One of the big things that people deal with is in the relationship. That's one of the most difficult parts that they have, because as they change, they are no longer the person who was attracted to the significant other in their life. They were no longer the person that found their husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, attractive. And they're looking at that and like, what was I doing? What was I thinking? You know, well, I tell people you have to look back at yourself and just give yourself the credit and say, you were the best person you could be at that time under those conditions with your past, because our past creates us to who we become in the present. And so whatever happened to you in the past, whatever happened to you as you're growing up, that's the part that shaped you, created you, in your agreement with the situations, good or bad. You still had to participate and make decisions. You know, that's made you who you are today. I've had people tell me, "You, Hawk, you ruined my life." You know, I'm like, well, I don't know how I did that, but you asked to see some things behind the scenes of normal life, and I showed you how to look. That changed your perception, and then that kind of like dominoed or caused an avalanche of change. I didn't really do ruin your life, sorry, but you know, it can get better out of this chaotic mess you're in right now. And when people go through this process, it does create this chaos in there, because as human beings, we want to hold on to something we call normalcy. We want to figure things out because that gives us some belief that we're in control of our environment. We're in some control of our life. Because the ego says, you know, oh, helplessness, that means we're going to die. We have to survive. And some of the best ways that we like to believe we're going to survive a situation or just to get our normal survival mechanism going on in life is we want to be in control of our life. We want to have some predictability. And this is why structure is so important, especially with children. And so when people are going through chaotic things, one of the best things that I'll give them is here, do this in the morning, first thing, to get your mind off page one and get you out of this feedback loop that was causing all the mental stress to have you come see me in the first place. And so structure is really important. So as people go through their shamanic shifts, then they look at their relationships, you know, personally, you know, in the family, in the workplace, and then they're also their relationship with themselves. Because one of the things too that comes up is people with regret. You know, they think, oh, I waited so long to do this. You know, especially now, I'm seeing more people that are 50, 60 years old. They get, yeah, I'd like to do an apprenticeship. Okay, you know, better late than never, right? And you can do it then. You know, you could have a strong 20 or 30 years, you know, in that, and be doing a lot of great work. Like I said, I tell people the minimum apprenticeship is about 4 years, with a 2 year journey after that. And the journey is you out there living your shamanic life in the public and helping people. And by the way, on that point, I also want to mention that shamanic apprentices can also do very, very good work. When people say, well, they haven't finished their apprenticeship yet, no, but they've lived through a lot of similar things that you may have been through, and they're fully qualified to be able to help you go through these things. And people have asked me also recently, well, the people you've been working with longer than apprenticeships, but how come they're not recognized as a full ranking shaman? Because this lineage that I'm with requires you to pretty much create your own system that you can teach other people. You have to prove that your system works. Kind of like, no one's going to reinvent the wheel, but they can invent other types of wheels that serve other purposes. So people are like, well, people have been doing readings all the time, but some people create their own source of divination. It's really awesome. And I was like, oh, that was it. Congratulations, you're shaman now. Are these same people qualified to work with people in a shamanic capacity with our lineage? Absolutely. So when I recommend people and they say, well, are they the shaman? I'm like, well, do they do we fully recognize them as that? No, not yet. We're waiting for this one little tweak, but they're fully qualified for you to work with them. So when people are having these difficulties in their relationships, they wonder, well, should I break up? Should I um, get a divorce? Should I quit my job? And things. I think the first part of it, I say no, unless it's obviously an abusive situation. You do have to let things settle in because your mind and your spirit can make these instant instant changes. Your physiology has to catch up. We all experience that thing where we see something, hear something, and then we get those goosebumps, and we're like, oh. People say chills of confirmation. People, I look at that more as an alarm. It could be that chills of confirmation, but it's also this thing that just goes through the body and says, hold on a minute, slow down. So the body creates this other. It could be a distraction. It could be the physiology reacting to the information or the stimuli that was given, and it starts to create this act of change. In some places, it's really, really good. And I'll give a quick example of what I call time constant. Right now, uh, we are in the clock of the earth. And then we also have our own personal clock. And your heartbeat is like the second hand of the clock. And all the other species have a different perception of time. And yes, there is time. And I'll go into that later on another video. So when you're going through these changes, all right, you have to hold on to some anchor point for your own sanity. And as you're going through that, you have to allow the physiology to catch up. So if you're getting information from another part of space or interdimensionally with a different time constant, let's say faster than yours, your body's not going to be able to catch up with that. And that's where these people that are great shamans, awesome seers, all of a sudden start collecting. It looks like they collected or got attacked. Negative energy. They're your entities attacked them and gave them a series of really bad diseases of which they end up dying. That's when the physiology is just bombarded with all these other time constants or information from these other time constants. Whereas if you get something from a slower time constant, your body has plenty of time to work with it. So as people are going through these changes, and experiencing this on their body with these different effects of time constants, they have to just allow themselves to settle in. So then also with the relationships, especially here, the person that's going through the big shamanic shifts will automatically affect their lover and also be influenced by their lover because they're sharing that much of an intimate bond in relationships. Where it's really disastrous is the people that are going through the shamanic shifts and they're in that fast hookup culture, the Tinder culture and things like that, and they can just end their shamanic journey just as fast as it started, and it's just a disaster because especially women Just like you can take one cell from a man and create that entire human being, you can create that, pull in that one energy signature and create a reality in this new energy form that you're in, and then just mentally and physically just blow apart. Guys on the other side, they're just throwing away their newfound energy sources and into voids, and it just totally depletes them. So when you start operating in that shamanic capacity, the rules of the game and how you should govern yourself completely change. So then they start feeling more and more distant in their relationships, and then a lot of people then that are single find it even more difficult, you know, to meet people that they really want to be with. And then they find themselves settling even lower than they did before just to be with someone, because that's who we are as humans. And then that can often throw them way off track. So much, very very few people get into shamanism seriously. There's a lot of virtue signaling in there that I'm shamanic now, I'm doing an apprenticeship and so on. Yeah, but you know, then they get out of it just as quick. I tell my apprentices or new shamans, less than 1/10 of 1% of the people that actually get into it will stay in it for the long term. And so the things I would tell people that are getting into this, again, look at it like you're in that theater company playing the part. Look at it as you have to play that part 100% to the best of your ability. Be okay when that phase is over, that project is over, you move to here, and things start, you were there someplace for a couple of years, it starts to all close down. And I remember when I was going through this, it's like, this is such a sweet project, I'd love to be here, and it's all closing. Look at it as that dandelion. It went through that, it became that ball of seeds, and one day the wind comes, blows all the seeds, and they land where they land to grow, to go through the life cycle. They're going, same thing in the shamanic life. You were that seed that got blown through the shamanic flow. You landed on a place. You're growing, and then you become that plant again and dissipate. That's your work. That's your work cycle. My words of advice for people: work on yourself. Right? The relationships will come and go. When you're in the relationship, don't get into the patterns where you're just like, well, I know this will probably end soon. It's part of the shamanic flow. No, be there 100%. Love the person with all your heart. Um, think of the future. If you really want to be farther along in the future in the shamanic path, you don't need to bring more kids into that, because that slows you down. If the children you have can grow with you in your shamanic path, and you're training them. They're watching you grow, and they're going to go through these changes, especially the children, of feeling like they'll never fit in, especially when they get into puberty. It's extra difficult. So it's so important to be with other people. I try to introduce people that are going through this, especially the single moms, so you can talk about the stuff that you're going through with your and how it affects your children in their life. These children end up becoming, basically they're serving their apprenticeship when the mother does, or the father does, sometimes single fathers. And it can happen with one person in the couple or the family is going through that, the mother or the father, but it's a stress for the rest of the family, especially with the husband or wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, because this person's going through change and they feel like they're losing them. So let's say the woman is going through the shamanic shifts, the husband may feel like he's losing her. And then if she is working with a male shaman, that adds to this mix, right? And then vice versa. That's part of it. And I just tell people, these are the things I tell everybody that's getting into it. These are the things that I experienced. You know, when I was like getting with the normal girl, wanted to take a shamanic break to have a normal life, and realized shortly like that's not going to work. And so if you got questions or comments, leave on there. I'll try to do quick videos about it. And like I said, I'm gonna be doing more of these because more people are coming into it. And people, I have to, yeah, quickly. I try not to do these videos too long. People are like, why do I think that more people are getting into it? That the Earth is going through some big changes. I know that sounds so New Age cliche, but it is really true these days. Along with society and nature shifts. That's another big one that I'll have to do another video on. But these big changes that are happening are right on the edge where we as a human species can become completely different organically. Not the way that the World Economic Forum or these other big handlers, want to make us like cyborg kind of transition, transhumanism. We can go through transhumanism in a very, very organic way up to an elevated consciousness that would be awesome, to where our sustainability with the earth can be just a beautiful connection. And we, like I say, we have all the resources here, to have life on earth be paradise. So it's these people that are being attracted into shamanism these days more and more. The numbers increase. That's the new force that's going to help that happen in a peaceful way. All right, guys. Sorry this video is so long, over 20 minutes already. So, like I said, subscribe, like, share, all that good stuff. Help me, help everybody else. Help me, help other people who want to make the world a better place. And let's get busy. Catch you guys later.